¿Qué tal, chicos? Bienvenidos a una nueva edición de Fan más Fan. En esta oportunidad estamos con un gran actor del mundo de Arrow. Estamos con... denme un segundo, chicos. You're not gonna listen to me yet. Just give me a second. We'll come back. Alright. So, perdón por ese cambio brusco, chicos, pero ya estamos listos para una entrevista con el gran Manu Bennett. Él ya es conocido por actuar en películas como Spartacus, es conocido por también aparecer en las sagas del Hobbit, también ha actuado en, bueno, uno de sus papeles más icónicos y desde mi punto de vista de los más varas que ha interpretado es haciendo de Deathstroke en el Arrowverse de DC. Así que nada, ya está conmigo en la sala de espera y nada, recuerden que por favor para tener una chance de conocer a este gran actor, nada, tienen que conseguir sus entradas para la Comic Convention Latinoamérica. Él está llegando a Perú muy pronto, vamos a ponerles ahorita un video promocional. Las entradas las consiguen a través de www.mundofans.com y nada, vamos a ver el video de Manu y comenzamos con la entrevista.
Hi there to all of my friends in Peru. This is Manu Bennett. You might know me as Crixus from the series Spartacus. Also, I played Deathstroke in the Arrow TV series. I'm coming to Lima, Peru in November to be a part of Comic Convention Latin America. I look forward to meeting everybody, taking photos, and meeting new friends. To Peru, shall we begin?
Alright, please welcome Manu Bennett. Here he is. Manu.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, so
How do I say it?
how do you say it?
Manu Bennett.
Oh, that's the
Here
interview.
is Manu.
Oh, okay. So I can't listen to this at the same time.
Yeah.
It's gonna confuse
Yeah,
everybody.
it's gonna make an
Okay.
echo. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna turn it down there.
All right, don't worry. So, how are you doing, Manu? Are you excited to come to Peru?
Totally. Yeah. I came to Peru. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. I shot a film called Death Race. We shot in Lima, and it was a lot of fun. I assume that's where the convention is in
Yeah.
Lima.
Yeah, it's in Lima.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking forward to coming back and eating some ceviche.
Oh yeah,
I like the ceviche.
it's
Ceviche
awesome.
is so good.
It's one of our greatest plates, I think. Do you know any Spanish?
No,
At all?
poco
Poco?
español.
All right, that's good enough.
No. I probably have more luck communicating with a llama.
Oh my god. Yeah, it happens. It happens. It's sometimes it's really difficult. I get it, and I think when you don't speak Spanish, you also like hear us like we run when we speak. Like we speak way too fast. I've
It's
heard that a
very
lot.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I wish I could speak it because it feels like a dance, and I enjoy that. Yeah, it's like a dancing language. I don't know. It's got
Yeah.
a rhythm, a beautiful
Exactly.
rhythm. Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
so let's begin this interview. Let's remember one of your characters that you made. At this point, which one would you say was your favorite character, like the one you have played?
I think Spartacus for me was just groundbreaking. It was it was exceptional. Physically, it was demanding. I mean, as well as the dramatic role itself was just an incredible journey. Playing Crixus. It's one of these roles that I don't know. I guess as an actor, you can say you had a defining role. What set your career in motion, and Crixus was definitely that character for me. I mean, from there I got The Hobbit with Peter Jackson playing the big orc, and Arrow and Shannara. I mean, all the other shows were subsequent to the Spartacus show. It was a big breakthrough for me.
Yeah, I imagine. For example, you're already used to make like
It was
these.
passionate. It was a
Yeah.
very passionate role, and it was a strong role as well. I mean,
Yeah, I
physically,
imagine.
I guess, being a male actor, You know,
Yeah.
you want to play something dynamic. You know,
Exactly.
and it wasn't just an action film with guns and stuff. It was like
Mm-hmm.
gladiators. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, full fighting techniques. You know, and applying all of that physicality to the role was just a wonderful challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the characters you have made, if not all of them, are like the most badass characters in the industry, I think. And also, how is that physical preparation? What's the most difficult about keeping characters like that?
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do with a character that's so physical is that you need to show the deep emotional side of that character,
Yeah.
you know. And so for me, it's always reversing what's expected of the character,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what I believe connects you with the audience,
Mm-hmm.
because the physical stuff is all, it's all there in the action, and people absorb that. But to really connect to an audience member, they have to know more about who you are
Yeah.
and what makes you tick. So, it's like the layers to an onion.
Exactly.
You have to peel back the layers to get to the center. And I think, yeah, especially, Crixus was just such an incredible role
Mm-hmm.
for peeling back the layers. He started off as a very arrogant, egotistically driven gladiator, who was fighting for his life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he'd forgotten who he was. He'd
Exactly.
forgotten that he was once a human being,
Mm-hmm.
that lived in a village, that probably had a girlfriend and a family and all these sorts of things. And, being pulled from his environment. I mean, a lot of this is very current issue stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Spartacus resonated all around the world, because I think everybody feels, this dilemma of being like a slave in some sort of way.
Exactly.
We all feel like there's some guy at the hierarchy level. There's some batty artist, there's some ludist that's
Mm-hmm.
controlling us, and in the end, we just want to scream out our own name. We just want to say, "I exist." I am.
Exactly.
And I feel. And that was the basis of really sort of. The series was really about an ancient story of Spartacus
Mm-hmm.
and a revolt against the Romans, but it seemed to resonate very, very similarly in today's environment. I mean, look at the situation we're in now.
Yeah.
We're all wondering what life is, and how we are of importance, and what we can do now, to participate in this world, this game of economics, or this game of cultural powers. I mean, I know that coming to Peru and coming to South America, I make a connection with a lot of fans because I'm brown skinned,
Yeah.
you know.
All right.
So I represent to Latin American people how they're treated in public, just by the color of their skin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, when I grew up in Australia, when I was a kid, I was always the only brown kid.
Mm-hmm.
They're all English and Scottish and Irish and all this, and I was kind of an anomaly, and I had many fights and many struggles because of that point of difference.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I returned to New Zealand years later and found out that I belonged to this Maori race,
Yeah.
and suddenly identified with that. And yeah, but as I said, when I do travel abroad, when I go to countries where people are of brown skin, the fans will come up and they'll have like Slade Wilson haircuts or Crixus haircuts,
Yeah.
because they identify, they somehow I represent something of a
Yeah.
familiar face to them of some
Completely.
sort.
I
Yeah.
think that you really get a sense of, especially in Latin America, you really get a real sense of community and this warm environment when you get to meet this side of the world. And I know
Yeah, but
it's
of course, but but then as soon as you travel outside of your country,
yeah.
you might get prejudice. You might go up to North America, or or go to Europe or something, and then you'll walk into you'll face prejudice,
Yeah.
and these are the areas where, as a cultural actor, I like to think that I've broken ground.
Hmm.
Uh, my father was the first Maori singer to have a #1 song on the
Awesome.
radio in New Zealand, and then these were breakthrough times for Maori people, and I guess I'm one of the few Maori actors who's made it internationally, so we do represent them, and it's very important for me as well to represent culture
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
um, and the Polynesian culture. And anyway, I think you Latin Americans have met up with us Polynesian guys along the line. Anyway, I think we're all paddling canoes in the same direction at some
Yeah.
stage.
At some stage we did actually, but yeah. But well, we're from all that you just said. I think that the thing that I actually like the most was the fact that that you're able to build all these layers on your characters. That you're able to give him like a background that is more interesting than actually just a character who fights a lot and who looks muscular and stuff. Um, I think that speaks a lot of the quality of actor you are. So that's awesome. Um, and well,
Well, yes, it's the most important thing.
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, you're on screen for whatever amount of time to tell a story, and the only way that you're going to connect with the audience is to raise your humanity. You know what I mean? Like to introduce, not just an actor, but a living and breathing sort of character that's struggling and going through all of this dramatic
yeah,
sort of premise for a reason, and yeah, I like to think that that's where I find my signature as an actor,
yeah,
is that I can dig deep. But people often ask me, they say to me, how do you find the emotion in your characters and things like
mm-hmm.
that? And a lot of people don't know, but when I was young, I lost my mother
Okay.
and also my
Sorry for
brother
that.
in 2 different car accidents.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to understand feeling to be able to empathize with people in the first place.
Yeah.
I like to think, well, it's not by it's by loss that these things happen to me personally as a young man, but being able to share, I think, what I've been through on screen in the way that I present my performances. Um, it helps people really feel what the struggle is that my character goes through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is that part of the character that I think identifies with the audience more than just the physical.
Exactly.
It's the broken parts. It's the way you have to build yourself back from being broken. And most of my characters deal with that kind of dilemma.
Yeah.
And I found that when I was struggling in my life, to deal with those deaths in my family, that
Mm-hmm.
the arts were a safe place. They were a good place for me to express myself honestly,
Yeah.
but in a productive way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people might turn to drugs, alcohol, violence, all these sorts of things. I was lucky that I found the arts. It helped me find a good, safe, productive place to put,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
feelings.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. The fact that you get to transmit that emotion, the fact that you get to show that these characters who are all I don't know, badass, and then most of people see them like big threats and stuff, but that you get to show the audience that they have a human side, that they are also human just as you
Yeah,
are.
well,
It's like,
when somebody sits down at a piano
yeah.
or has paint,
Mm-hmm.
and is going to paint a picture, the only difference that's going to make to the performance that they do in front of you
Yeah.
is how
Exactly.
much they feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Gotcha.
somebody has to feel to get on a piano and play something that feels like something. I
Exactly.
mean, they can play it standard and just play the
Mm-hmm.
chords, but the difference between that and somebody that you're going to feel moves you
Yeah.
is this other part. And being an actor, and working with other actors, I love to be able to meet actors that have that depth.
Yeah.
When you work with actors on that level,
Gotcha.
It's like working with the best orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of a sudden you have such complementing performances that you can make something great.
Yeah.
I mean, Spartacus was great because we had quite a good cast,
Yeah.
you know, and everybody was playing their instrument very well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so, you know, and there were differences too, you know, like I worked with Andy Whitfield, and Andy Whitfield was just amazing as the first Spartacus, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unfortunately, you know, with his passing, we had to cast another character in that role, and it was it was like playing with somebody completely different,
Yeah.
a different instrument, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, we managed to do it, and the show continued and was successful. But those subtle changes, the audience doesn't know how much, you know, we went through within the cast in those moments of change, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to try to keep the balance. These were interesting moments.
Yeah. Completely. So let's jump to another franchise you have collaborated with. In this case, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. How was it playing Asa?
Well, I wasn't the first person to be cast as Azog. It
All
was
right.
the role. The role went to a 7 foot guy,
Oh my god. All
um,
right.
you know, and he had to sit in makeup and do all this process. And anyway, at the end of that, of the filming of of you know of the first Hobbit film, Peter Jackson realized the performance wasn't what he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and so they went looking to recreate the character with motion capture. So they went back through all the auditions,
Yeah.
looking for who they felt had the best. Um, the reason I wasn't cast originally is because they believed they had to have a giant,
Yeah.
because I was giant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they went back through the casting and they looked for performance, and they came back to my audition and they thought that I gave it a lot of strength and the things that they wanted from the character.
Yeah.
So with motion capture, of course, they just made me 9 foot, 10 foot, you know,
Yeah.
as an. Um, I was at the time filming Spartacus,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't have been allowed to do it, so I didn't. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my producers, and I just got on a plane and I flew down to Wellington,
Yeah. Like,
and and they gave me the script
mm-hmm.
like at 11 o'clock at night, and I had to be on the studio at 6 o'clock in the morning filming.
All right.
And it was the first time I'd read the script,
Mm-hmm.
and the character had to speak with like black speech, which is like a kind of Germanic language.
All right.
So there was a lot of pressure for me to, in one night, create this character.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay.
Literally in one night.
Wow.
And they had like pay-per-view, and I looked up. I watched Jaws, you know, the white shark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, you know,
I
Jaws.
gotcha. Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking. Is it called Jaws in
I'm pretty sure it's called
Peru?
Jaws. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jaws, the shark,
Uh-huh.
right? So I watched that, and then I took Darth Vader, the character of Darth Vader, and so I based my whole performance on a white shark, the great white shark, and Darth Vader.
Wow. What?
And if you watch
What a
Azog,
mix.
you'll
Yeah.
see it.
Uh-huh.
I'm doing all this, you know, I'm doing this Darth Vader kind of, you know, powerful presence with a big deep voice, you know,
Yeah.
like Darth, like I am your father, Luke. You know, I'm going like Uba to Luke now. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
driving this deep voice like Darth Vader, and then moving like a white shark. You know, moving like this alpha predator. That's what I based it on. Even when I was performing, I could hear the dun 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 dun, dun,
The
dun,
shark
dun,
approaching.
in my mind
Yeah.
as I moved this
Yeah.
puzzle. Yeah.
Totally good. Oh my god. What that was quite an interesting mix to create an orc. Oh my god. Yeah.
I had no time. They didn't give me any
Yeah.
notice, and
Completely.
I was just thinking, what am I going to, how am I going to make this character? You know, I had 24 hours. Literally, now I had about 3 days
Mm-hmm.
from the moment that they contacted and said they wanted me for the role, and flying down there and doing it. And but those two things really drove it in a certain direction.
Exactly.
Jaws and Darth Vader.
Oh, all right. That's a great fact.
If you watch The Hobbit again, just think of those references and look at the way that I move. I said to Peter Jackson, can I just, with the character, I just want to be like this great white shark and kind of just move and be
Right.
predatory. But it worked, yeah.
Yeah, it worked. It worked a lot. How was it to work in a production like with this background, this such a big fandom, Lord of the Rings? How is it?
It's mind blowing. You know, it's I
Yeah,
mean, you know, you go from being sort of nobody, right,
yeah,
to all of a sudden working with Peter Jackson, and those
exactly.
things they hit you. You know, you go like, oh my god,
I
I'm
know.
working with Peter Jackson, and wait up, I'm working on The Hobbit. You know, J.R. Tolkien. You know, and that's the next thing from Lord of the Rings,
Yeah,
which was a big thing. You know, so yeah, it's all very overwhelming at first,
yeah,
and you have to just sort of take control of all of that and think like, okay, don't freak out.
yeah,
Just it just means that you're ready, right?
exactly.
I'm ready, right?
Yeah,
I'd done Spartacus, and they wanted me to be physical, and Arzog to move and fight like a giant orc warrior,
yeah.
and so I was already Crixus. So I that was probably another part that I put into it. It was a great white shark,
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, and
Yeah,
Crixus, right? So and yeah, I mean, I remember when Peter Jackson was coming to the studio. They did this countdown. They were like, Peter Jackson is going to be in the building
oh
in
my
10
God.
minutes. And everyone started running around, and then they were like, Peter Jackson will be in the building in 5 minutes. And like they were doing this 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, one.
Wow.
And everyone's just rushing like Oompa Loompas for,
Oh my
for
God.
like
Yeah.
Charlie's Chocolate Factory, right? And all of a sudden the door opens,
Mhm.
and in walks Peter Jackson with like no shoes on,
All
like
right.
barefoot. He
Like a
looked like he
hobbit.
looked like a
Like a hobbit.
he looked like a hobbit.
All
He
right.
totally
Yeah.
like a. He walks in and he just went, Manu, love you on Spartacus. Good stuff. And I'm like, oh, he was Spartacus. And then he sat down and he just started saying, okay, Manu, first thing we're going to film is,
Mhm.
and um, and I'm standing in this like tight bodysuit,
Mhm.
like for motion capture, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm in a motion capture outfit, which is just like this tight bodysuit, and I felt small. I felt really weird. I felt like very exposed because
Mhm.
I'm just in a body stocking, and I'm meant to be this giant, and I just didn't feel like a giant.
Mhm.
And Peter Jackson just sort of started directing me to become this orc.
Yeah.
And at this moment, yeah, as an actor, this is where the professionalism, I guess, of acting comes
Mhm.
in. Or if you're a singer at rock concerts or whatever, you have to switch on. You don't have a choice, and you have to get rid of the critic.
Yeah.
Because I had this critic on my shoulder that was saying, "Oh, you look stupid in this little outfit. You don't look like a giant orc."
Exactly. You
This
have to imagine
voice
it.
was going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was going on in my head, and I was going, "Shut up!" Just here with Peter Jackson, just do the bloody job, and
Yeah.
you know what you're going to do: be Darth Vader, Jaws, and Crixus, right? And just inhabit the space. So I just you just as a professional, you've got to click into the right gear and just go. But I remember at the time thinking like, oh my god, if only they could hear what I'm thinking. How uncertain I was of the
Exactly.
position that I was in.
You have to believe it to make it come true.
Like 10 seconds before they said action, and
Mhm.
I started creating Arzog the Defiler, the giant orc white
Yeah.
king of the orcs.
Mhm.
I was just a very nervous Manu Bennett in a little tight bodysuit, thinking I looked like I was at some weird sort of German sort of trade your
Keyboard.
date part. I don't know. I just felt very, very weird in what I was wearing.
Mhm.
And so yeah,
I
yeah,
imagine.
it's funny how
Yeah.
people who don't know the processes that go on
Mhm. Completely
before
feel it.
you all of a sudden do something that's quite defining
Yeah.
in film.
Mhm.
I was very, very self-conscious
All right. So
in that moment.
we're gonna go with the first question of this night.
Sure.
So I'm gonna say it in Spanish for the fans who are watching us right now, and at the
Yep.
same time, then I'll translate it for you. All right. So,
Perfect. Yep.
all right. I'm gonna start with the. I'm gonna switch to Spanish for a second. Okay. Bueno chicos, vamos a hacer la primera pregunta de esta noche. La primera pregunta viene por parte de Arrowverse y recuerden que para que la respuesta sea válida tienen que poner número de la pregunta, letra de la respuesta y la respuesta correcta completamente escrita. Con todas esas cosas están listos para que ganen el saludo por parte de Manu. Ok, vamos con la primera pregunta. Alright, so here's the first question.
Yep.
¿Cómo también es conocido Slade Wilson? A. Terminator. B. Dark Archer. C. Deadshot. O D. Murmur. Alright, so the first question, let's not say the answer yet, but the first question is, how is also known Slade Wilson? As the Terminator, the Dark Archer, Deadshot, or Murmur? So, that's the first question.
Terminator. It's Deathstroke the Terminator.
No.
What?
You just give away the answer.
Oh, I thought you asked me.
No. Yeah, I was telling you to not say it quite yet, but
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay.
I win.
Yeah, you won.
Nice, yeah.
You have to greet yourself. No, it happens. Don't worry.
Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, as we're in this topic right now, how was it to construct a character such as Slade Wilson? It's really complex.
That character was created more so by the writers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, of course, you know, as an actor, you have to, you know, create all the subtleties. But you know, for instance, like the character Shadow came onto the series, and the writers, the producer rang me one night and he says, "Oh, Manu, we're going to make a love triangle between you and Oliver Queen and Shadow." Yeah. And I'd already shot a few scenes with you know the actress who plays Shadow, and I was like, "What? She's like a kid, you know, like I don't get that." And they said,
yeah,
well, that's what's going to happen, you know. So all of a sudden I had to make adjustments, you know, straight away, you know, and then came kind of like all the chaos of the Mirakuru and the killing of Oliver's mother, and they seem to have me, like, for some reason, always targeting women, and I just found it really weak, you know. And I said, I mean, there were things that were on social media about me disagreeing with the producers or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really thought that Deathstroke was such a formidable character that he needed to be more involved with, you know, you know, not the women,
yeah,
you know, not to step on equality and stuff like that, but they were overemphasizing these things about targeting the women in Oliver's life, and it just didn't really seem to me like that was kind of like, in a way, true to the character. But I had to do it, you know. There was nothing I could do about it. I was having these commentaries with the producers about, well, come on, give me a man to fight, give me some good fights as Deathstroke, you know.
In a way, Deathstroke is such a complex and great character, even in the
and even if it was a good woman, but if she was some kind of, like, you know, some sort of superpower, you know, like Deathstroke is, you know. But as it was, I was going after, like, his young sister and his secretary and his mum and things like that, and it was kind of like, you know, it was in a way, I thought that it was going to impact on the character in a very, very negative way. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be able to redeem this character in any way for the purposes of Deathstroke, you know, the franchise. And it was funny because, again, it's these things that you think as an actor, but when you actually perform and you do what you meant to do, and then the results happen later, it's surprising how you know, what you thought maybe wasn't the way that it turned out. But because I remember going to a convention after I'd killed Oliver's mother, you know, and I thought, oh my Lord, they're going to boo me, you know, like they're going to go, oh, boo, Slade. Yeah. And this woman came up to my table and she was like, I want to have a word with you.
Oh my God.
She was like, what you did to Oliver's mother, that was unforgivable. But I still like Slade. She said.
Oh my God. So we have a winner for the first question. who
Oh,
has won
was me.
this. Yeah, who was you. But the second winner, who said in the comments and of the live stream, is called Ricardo Hill. So his name is Ricardo Hill, and
Good
well,
on you, Ricardo.
that's the stage is all yours. So just you can just give him a greeting or something.
Ricardo, what's his name?
Ricardo Hill.
Okay, Ricardo Hill. Listen, I only have one word of advice for you from Deathstroke the Terminator, and that is always keep your promises, kid.
Nice. That's a
Good on
nice.
you, Ricardo. Congratulations. Hey.
Such a great line, though. All right. So let's continue, and I think we're gonna jump straight to the second question already, because the interview is already more than 30 minutes. So let's jump straight to the second question.
Good.
All right. So the second question is from all right, hold up, from the Spartacus movie, and this question is gonna be only for Judith. Okay. So I'm gonna say it in Spanish, just as the last one, and then I'll translate it for you.
Yep,
All right.
I get it. Go for it. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So, chicos, recuerden que para que su respuesta sea válida, y esta pregunta es solamente para aquellos que están en YouTube, tienen que poner el número de la pregunta, letra de la respuesta y la respuesta correcta completamente escrita. Entonces vamos con la segunda pregunta de Spartacus, que es ¿quién mató a... perdón, un segundo. Ahora sí. ¿Quién mató a Crixus? A. Spartacus. B. Agran. C. Nasir. O D. Tiberius. Alright. So, the second question, it's who killed Crixus?
I'm not allowed to answer, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, the second question is who killed Crixus? A. Spartacus. B. Agron. C. Nasir. Or D. Tiberius. Aside from Crixus, who would you say was the most interesting character to work with?
To be honest, I really liked the character of Barker.
All right.
Who was played by Antonio Tamoiha, a Maori actor, and I just thought he did a really wonderful job, and unfortunately his character died about episode 5 of season 1.
Yeah.
But he got to come back and be a part of the prequel, Gods of the Arena, but he was a very interesting actor. His choices were just kind of very out there. I mean, I remember the time in the very first episode, he and I are presented to the Roman people at this party, right?
Yeah.
And they say, Crixus, the undefeated Gaul, and I came out and I stood there and I thought, as an actor, I should just stand there, like a strong gladiator, so I did this, strong face and just sort of stood there, and then they said, Barker, the beast of Carthage. And I looked over at Antonio and he had his arm up in the air and he was sniffing his armpit.
Oh my God.
And I thought to myself, what a great choice, like what a crazy choice. Yeah. And then when they brought the gladiators out, when they brought the new slaves into the gladiatorial square, and all of the existing gladiators are all going, F you, we're going to kill you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We're all doing that, right? We're all acting big alpha male, threatening kind of things. And I look sideways and Antonio Tamoya is like humping this big wooden beam.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, again, I'm going, he has such out there choices,
Yeah.
He was always just going another level.
Oh my God.
So Barker. And to be honest, I read for Barker as the first character that I auditioned for the show. But I lived in Australia at the time, and because the character was going to die in episode 5, they decided they were going to cast locally out of New Zealand. Yeah. Anyway, just a little funny story. So, yeah, I was meant to play that character originally.
All right.
But he did an amazing job. Amazing job.
Yeah, it was a great job with the cast was amazing though. So now you can give away the answer because we already have a winner who's called Katie Chang. Katie Chang,
you got Tiberius. Well done. that little shit cut my head off.
All right. So yeah,
Uh,
let's go with the greeting. Maybe let's do something like we did with Ricardo. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Katie Chang? What
Katie
is it?
Chang. Yeah.
Okay, Katie Chang. Good on you, darling. Shall we begin? Shall we begin, Katie Chang?
Awesome line though. Yeah, great. I always when every time I do these interviews, I really love when the actors give away like these extremely great lines of their characters. It's amazing. Which one would you say of all the of all the characters you have already made is your favorite line?
Well, I'd say "Shall we begin" was very interesting
Yeah.
because it actually came from "Shall I begin?"
Yeah.
When Crixus was more the brute,
Mm-hmm.
and before he developed his character back to a character of freedom, when he was a slave and caught in that world, he would come out and yell out, "Capua, shall I begin?"
Yeah.
With very and that's where Navia touched him and made him realize that he was not living, that he had
Yeah.
to feel,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he did full circle and came back to being kind of a leader, he yelled out, "Shall we begin?"
Yeah.
And that was
Nice.
just a beautiful transition of the character going from being selfish to being somebody who would be able to lead and be responsible for others. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I never thought it like that, but yeah, sounds really good. And yeah, definitely, it's such a great line. All right, so we're about to end with the interview, but before we do that, well, I wanted to ask a little bit more about how was it to work in the Arrowverse, right? Because it's one of the biggest fandoms right now, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to DC Comics and stuff. Working in the Arrowverse is just such a loved show, such a loved fandom around the world. How do you feel being a part of all this family?
Well, again, it's like you never really know at the time,
Mm-hmm.
when you go and do these shows, like you're just an actor for hire,
Yeah.
and your agent rings you and tells you that there's this audition, and you go and you audition for it, and I remember I went and read for Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
I had an amazing audition, by the way.
All right.
It was something else. I
Mm-hmm.
actually choked out the reader and they fell unconscious on the floor
Oh my god.
during my audition. In
Oh.
my audition for Arrow, the reader was unconscious on the floor because
Wow.
the scene was having the scene involved having Oliver in a headlock,
Yeah.
right,
Uh huh.
in chokehold, and saying to him, "You have 10 seconds to tell me something I believe, kid, or I'm going to cut out your throat box." It's this very intense scene.
Yeah.
And so I asked if the reader could come in front of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
and I got him in a chokehold, and I didn't realize that it was a little bit too tight.
Oh my god.
And I apologized to the casting agent. I said, "Whoa!" At first I was like, "Is this part of the audition? Is this?" And he said, "No, I think you choked him out." And then he got up because I mean,
Yeah.
you cut off oxygen supply and it just knocks them out. And
What an audition, though.
this is the audition.
Yeah.
This is my audition for Arrow, right? For
As a
Slade
guest
Wilson.
director, I'll probably say I want him as Deathstroke. I definitely want him to be Deathstroke.
You know what? I would say that 99 out of 100 times that would never happen,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And they'd go like, "Oh, we better get rid of that guy," right? But but the casting director actually just, he sent the guy. He said, "Go wash your face in the bathroom." So this young kid went off and washed his face, and then I said, "Look, I'm sorry, but the crazy thing is I'd just been in Kuwait with like the American Special Forces guys. The guy there had showed me how to do the chokehold, and so what I'd done is I'd actually taken an example of a Special Forces guy,
Yeah,
and I'd used it in the room, and it worked.
it did. Turns out like it did.
And so I said to David Rappaport, the casting director, I said, listen, I'm sorry about that, but I've just been in Kuwait with like the real deal
Yeah.
of the guy that you're looking for,
Uh-huh.
right? And that guy showed me how to do that.
Mhm.
And obviously it works. And obviously I learned from him, and I'm trying to bring him into this room, right? And so yeah, once again, it was kind of like that, like I was saying to you, like, when somebody plays the piano,
Yeah.
you've got to have you've got to have the feeling to really know how to do it. Otherwise, it's just a technical repeat,
Mhm.
right? You're just a parrot. But that I'd been in Kuwait on a USO tour to meet the American military and met this special forces guy, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was playing. So I'd actually been through the physical and the emotional sort of communication with this guy for several days to be able to take who he was and bring it into that room. And I rang him immediately afterwards and I said, bro, I'm telling you, you helped me get this role of Deathstroke. And
Wow.
and then it was funny because I met during my time working on Arrow, I ended
Mhm.
up meeting quite a few very interesting military guys,
Yeah.
that had this edge, and I would always try to absorb off them,
Yeah.
what they'd been through, what it is that they'd been through. I met one guy that lost his leg in Iraq,
Mhm.
and was kind of his Humvee was blown up and everyone was killed except for him, and he was
Yeah.
lying on the ground having to shoot his way out of being captured and killed himself,
Mhm.
without a leg, and just these moments of being able to pick up just just on the emotional and the
Yeah.
mindset of these actual people,
Mhm.
and then apply it into something you're doing as an art it's yeah. I think experience of a character is the most important thing. If you haven't had the experience, then you really are acting. But I think that sometimes better acting is done when you do really good research and you know well the emotional notes that you're going to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for the interview. Is there anything you wanna say to your fans here in Lima, Peru, which you're gonna meet? It's in less than 2 weeks.
Oh, I can't wait to get there. I had an amazing trip there last time, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know that there's a little place down on the beach where they hire out stand-up paddle boards
Yeah.
at the bottom of the cliff. At the
Yeah.
bottom of the cliff,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's really
So
fun.
I'm gonna head down. I'm gonna head down there and do some stand-up paddle boarding when I get there. And no, I just really look forward to it. And I'm very open and willing to talk about whatever it is that you want to know about my acting. So at the Comic Con, feel free to ask anything and everything. And if you're an aspiring actor or you need some advice in that regard, just yeah, I'll see what I can do.
All right. So thank you, Mano. It's been a great interview. I really liked speaking with you. I really like listening to all your experience. It's really great, and
Thank you, Ben.
I really hope that you had a nice time. And thank you for being here. And I can wait to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Awesome, kid.
All right.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Have a good one. See you.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Alright. So, bueno, ok, sí, me estaba cambiando de chip todavía, chicos. Ese fue el gran Manu Bennett. Como verán, es una persona también súper buena onda, muy dispuesta a abrirse a ti, a contarte su experiencia y a cómo está transformando por así decirlo, cómo está transformando su vida. Él está como, mejor dicho, expresando su vida a través de sus personajes y llevando... Es algo que creo que muy pocos actores, mejor dicho, los mejores actores logran hacer, ¿no? Como que por más que seas un personaje que sea un alienígena azul con 8 brazos y 1000 cosas y súper fuerte y con visión de rayos láser, lo que sea, aún así tienes que lograr incorporar cositas de ti, lograr cositas que conecten con las personas, y creo que Manu Bennett es uno de esos actores que logran hacer eso muy bien. Y como ya nos contó, ¿no? O sea, nos ha contado cosas personales, hasta cosas, como por así decirlo, detrás de escenas de algunas cosas de las películas y series en las que ha trabajado. Así que nada, muchas gracias por haber estado en esta entrevista, chicos. Recuerden que si quieren conocer a Manu, tomarse una foto con él, tener un autógrafo con él, de repente tener la oportunidad hasta de repente de ganar algún premio adicional que involucre conocer a este gran actor, porfa, vayan a www.mundodefans.com y consigan sus entradas para la Comic Convention Latinoamérica. También si tú has ganado alguna entrada en alguno de los lives anteriores, siéntete libre de escribirnos a través de nuestras redes sociales, tanto Instagram como Facebook, para poder ayudarte a canjear tus entradas. Y nada, que siempre estamos ahí para todos ustedes. Se pueden ganar una cena con Manu Bennett, chicos. Se pueden ganar una cena con Manu Bennett. Y miren, yo cuando conversaba con él me sentía como, qué interesante debe ser estar sentado con él en una mesa, conversando, picando algo, tomando algo. Se lee un tipo tan agradable que quieres conocer más y más y más, y que sobre todo siento que tiene un montón de experiencias para contar. Y como él lo dijo, recuerden que ya en la Comic Convention de repente van a tener tiempo de poder conversar con él, de conocerlo un poco, de hacerle preguntas en cuanto a actuación y los papeles que ha interpretado y cómo él construye sus personajes. Así que nada, no se pierdan esa oportunidad, y asistan a la Comic Convention Latinoamérica, que ya llegamos a Lima, Perú, este 17 al 21 de noviembre, el primer fin de semana, porque hemos hecho ampliación, gente, así que estén súper atentos. Y nada, yo también ya estoy muy ansioso porque ya no falta nada para el evento, chicos. Ya es 7, hoy es 7, chicos. Hoy es 7, eso quiere decir que en 10 días empezamos la cuenta regresiva de los 10 días. Ok, bet. Pero nada, recuerden que también si quieren también por ahí alguien en el público de los que nos están viendo quiere apoyarme, pueden entrar aquí a @soy Luis el Geek, y tanto en Instagram, Twitter como... Instagram, Twitter, TikTok me pueden encontrar como @soy Luis el Geek. Y nada, ahí estoy subiendo contenido de rato en rato, algunas historias, algunas fotitos, ahí como que acompáñenme en esta aventura loca que es andar como un geek por todos lados. Y nada, eso, muchas gracias por haber estado aquí. Nos vemos en la siguiente edición de Fan más Fan. Y nada, muchas gracias una vez más. Hasta la próxima, nos vemos. Hasta la próxima entrevista live. Nos vemos.